Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. And if you don't know, you better text somebody and tell them that the best of the 757 Community Talk Show is on the World Wide Web. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I hope that y'all are having a great Saturday because it looks like it's sunny. It looks like it's going to be a great day. And I just wanted to pop in for a few moments. Got a lot of things I'm working on, but nevertheless, I always got to keep you informed, keep my community informed, and let them know that hey, it ain't no joke over here. It's no joke. It's about understanding that our future generation is at stake, and we got to stay on the ground. We got to stay on the bandwagon. We got to stay locked into the program, because without being locked into the program, we will lose the battle. So welcome to the show, and I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me now? So I'm just checking, see if I'm live out there, so how y'all doing? So I want everybody to chime in and give your comments today, if you can. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about, I keep forgetting when I'm not. Yeah, I'm on the show. I'm on the show. So we want to be able to make sure that everything is properly done. And to those that have been following me for years, you know what time it is. I don't stop. I keep right on moving forward and keep moving to the point where we are involved in the community, because it's no joke when it comes to the community to me. So I'm just checking to make sure you can hear me. Okay, I can cut that off. And hey, how y'all doing? Let me take my logo down there, because when I'm looking around, I don't want y'all to say, well, what is he doing? What is he doing? What he's doing, I'm looking good. That's what I'm doing. Kind of trim my beard a little bit, because I'm getting ready to go to work. I just want you to know how y'all doing, because one thing about me, you must know, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this so many years that even the people that were my age are older than me. I'm older than most of the people that watch this show now, but that's okay, because that's what it's all about, being consistent and letting people be aware that for years I've been telling you one simple thing. It's all about the future generation. And for people that sit around and think it's a game with me, it's not a game with me. It is not a game. It's really about us reaching out to our future, our generation, our young people, and let them know that we love them and we care. We got to stop sitting around playing as if, things are going to change overnight. Not when things have been playing. Everything is playing when it comes to our community. Everything that happens in our community has happened for a reason, and it continues for a season. But what we must do, we must continue to pray. We must continue to be focused on our young people. We must continue to make sure that they get the right information. We must make sure that they get involved with the right things. And that's what it's all about with me. I've been working on the real adventures of Captain85 and the character ever since the late, I started in the 70s. As for some of you may not know, which I'm pretty sure you don't, so I like to give a little story about, I'll do a little bit of summary today, and I'll come back and let you know, show you the pictures. When I first started out, when I was about 19 years old. When I was 19, and I was working at Colonial Store. I was working at Tidewater Produce. Let me get it straight. get my thoughts together. I was working at Tidewater Produce on Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth because I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia. And I had some great friends that I got to know and meet there. And I worked there for until I was about 20 to 21. And my friends, I wasn't much of a person to go out back then. I wasn't even DJing then, but I was going, started going out with my friends that I met at work, who was Jesse Mitchell, who stayed in Cavalier Manor, Mike Davis, who's his neighbor across the street in Cavalier Manor, and his another guy named Monk, who was, they all stayed on the same street. Let's put it that way, in Cavalier Manor. And for those of you that don't know, Cavalier Manor is the largest Afro-American community in the United States, with over 10,000 homes, over 10,000 homes. I don't know what the record is today because they're constantly building things, but I don't think there's no other Black community in the United States with more than 10,000. But I'll fact check it later. But right now, all I know is P-Town, the largest Afro-American community. But what I'm trying to get to say is I had friends that, they was going out, so they invited me to go out with them on weekends, and me and my brother. But my brother was already going out. He was like, "Come on, man, go out." I'm like, "Nah." He was my baby brother. That's his, AKA Dr. Michael Vaughn now. So he always went out and with people. And one place we used to go to was called Short Schumann Hall on 21st Street. And there I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman named Bob Fields. That's right. The legend, the legendary Bob, AKA Mr. Disco, Mr. AKA, Superfly. He was a businessman. He was everything. He was somewhat a mentor to me. And when I used to go to Short Schumann Hall, man, he had his group of DJs, Bozo, John. He had about 4 or 5 different DJs. And I think that's where I got I copied that formula as I got older as a DJ. But when I first met him, he told me, I asked him, I said, "Excuse me, I see you talking. May I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure." And he was at Short Schumann Hall. I said, "How did you become a DJ?" If I'm not mistaken, he was in the Navy, and he picked it up when he was in the Navy. So when he got out of the Navy, he came back home and he started DJing, and he opened up a record shop. Man, he had a car. When you look at the movie Superfly, that was his car. I don't know if they used his car, but that Superfly car is what he had, man. And back then in those days, 70s, he was the only one who had a phone in the car. Well, he's not the only one because he couldn't talk to nobody if nobody else had one. But he had a phone in his car, and it was bad. But to make a long story short, I said, "I like to learn how to do that." He said, "Hey, man, anything you want to know, come see me." He had a record store. We'll call them record shops over by Booker T. Washington High School, right across from Booker T. Washington High School in the plaza, where also later on, that's where WHIH or 103 Jams became to be their home as a radio station. And he told me, "So I'll tell you how to come by. I'll tell you how to build your DJ set, and I'll help you select music and everything." And I said, "Okay, thank you, sir." And that's what he did. And his name is somewhat, to me, is like missing in history today. But the people that grew up, and he grew up in Berkeley. He's from Berkeley in Norfolk. and for the legends, that I've met, and they all gone. Most of the DJs back then, uh, mostly gone. Another gentleman, Winky the Hitman. Yes, right. Winky the Hitman. I met him at Short Schumann Hall. But when I met Winky, Winky had a band. Winky used to sing. And it's like, that guy can blow. And I wasn't, like I said, I never went out. What I saw on TV is what I saw on TV. But I got to experience real live entertainers in this area. Man, I'm like, I want to do that. But I sung in the choir, but I was kind of a little nervous and shy. And to sing out, I get nervous. And like a lot of things I do, I'm an artist. I paint, I draw, I do all that stuff. But when it comes to sharing it with people, I get nervous in talking about it because it's more like talking about me. And to me, it's never about me. It should be trying to uplift other people. But I guess you can't uplift other people if you don't talk about yourself. I guess that's what makes Facebook um, and all these other outlets on the internet so popular, because people get an opportunity to talk about themselves. But I like to come along and tell stories about other people, the people that helped me along the way. And that's what the scriptures say. If you help people along the way, then your living shall not be in vain. And that's what I know. I know that if we help each other along the way, that we can do better and help our young people to chart a course that will demonstrate that they can be somebody too. They can be just as popular as the celebrities on TV and radio. But you got to be consistent. You got to be able to show that you are sincere. And people always tell me, "Well, you're doing things to make money." That much is true. That much is true. I am. I don't know no person, young or old, adult or whatever, don't do anything to make money. If you don't make money, you can't survive. If you don't be loyal to yourself, that's why I created WBDM. If you don't be sincere in what you're trying to do, how will we survive? And that's, to me, is the challenge. The challenge is making sure our future generation can have something to look forward to. And like I said, our legends, most of our legends are gone. Most of the legends that people today may not never know. A lot of our artists, recording artists like Frankie Beverly, who passed away this week. So when we don't really we take for granted that we have to not get paid and make money for the things we do, is ludicrous. We're not slaves. Let me repeat that again. We're not slaves. Slaves, our ancestors worked for free. And any time a black person do anything, it's always in mind that, oh, you just trying to make money. But wait a minute. Aren't you getting paid to tell me that off of taxpayers' money? Would they just want us to work and pay taxes, but not be a business person? It might seem like you being a business person, but when you start studying the formula that they put together, you see it's really a hoax. Because it's no way in the world you can have all these businesses in our black community and we have all this gun violence. Let me repeat. We have all this violence in our community each and every day to to the weak, and nobody's reaching the young people. Can you explain that to me? Seemed like one of those formulas back doing sharecropping. And I was taught you never let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. And to me, that means that whoever's on your right side, if you tell them what you're doing, they would take it and run with it. You cannot have gun violence with all the things that we have at our disposal, and our young people are still dying in the street. The numbers don't add up. And I can tell people, you can say anything about me you want. I know this. I was in a special education class, and being in a special education class taught me one thing. Why am I here? That's what it taught me, to ask questions. Why am I here? But at the time, well, being about 8 years old, going into 9, I was taken out of the 3rd grade and put in a special education class in Portsmouth Public Schools. And going to school every day, it seemed like we were learning just the same thing. We read books, for those that are old and my age. Here come Dick. Where is Tom, Dick? Dick, have you seen Tom? Here comes Sally and Jane. Sally and Jane, have you seen Dick? Where is Dick? Sound kind of strange to me. Sound like something going on over here. Why couldn't it have been Tom they were looking for? They looking for Dick. Seems strange, What's going on with the books in elementary school? Run, Spot, run. Here comes Spot. See Spot run. For 2 to 3 years, this is what you learn from the 1st grade to the 3rd grade. But I failed one year. The next year I passed to the 3rd grade. So but that's what I'm learning from the 1st to the 3rd grade, just reading books like that and, doing a little math and, but when I got transferred to the special education class, I was in the 3rd grade for maybe 2 weeks, if it was that. And I got into this teacher's class named Miss Overton. And she was at the old Brightening. And she asked me, no, she was at the new Brightening, because at the old Brightening, I just kept learning and failing. But at the new Brighton School that they built on Portsmouth Boulevard, on Portsmouth and Effingham, over that way. Elm Avenue. And once they moved it over there, that's when I got into special education class. And when I was there in her class, she had taught me how to do work, taught me how to do research, and taught me how to learn the proper way. And she said, if you promise me you do everything I tell you to do, I will get you out of the ungraded class at the time. It wasn't the special education class yet. It was ungraded, no grade. You just learn what the teacher teaches. So I did just that. She gave me different things to do each and every night as I began to learn and could do it. Once I passed in my homework, once I can demonstrate in the classroom, go to the board when she called me, and you never know when she's going to call you. But That's what she did. So when she called me to the board, what I used to do is something I similarly still do today. I'm always helping people. And she would tell me, Henderson, you cannot do people work. And I'm kind of sentimental. I like, if I get an A or B, you should be able to get an A or B. You shouldn't be failing. That's the way I look at it. If you're trying to work on something, you want your dream to come true. Hey, I want my dream to come true. Hey, I'm going to help you if I can. But I paid a price when I used to do help my the students in my class. I would help them and show them, and sometimes they was afraid they were going to get it wrong. And I'm sentimental. I feel emotions. I feel your emotions. And if I'm around you enough, I know when you're sad. I know when you're happy. You don't even have to tell me. I don't care if you stay in another city or another state. I don't know. I don't like that feeling. I didn't like the feeling. So what I did is I would help them do their work, or I would do their work for them. And so you can't tell nobody I did it because I'll get in trouble. But what happened is the teacher gave them other work to do and they couldn't get it done. And then they bring that to me, and I'm like, no, I can't do that, because if she gave you different work than what I got, then that means that she know that you can't do the work. And and she called me up to her desk one day and said, I asked you not to show help people with their work anymore. And you disobeyed me. So back then they call it corporate punishment, where they could spank your hands. They could almost give you a whipping in school, in front of you, in front of the class. So she said, come to, stand over here so the class can see what I'm doing. So if they do not obey my wishes, then they're going to get the same results. So I had to hold my hand out, and she got one of those. Back then we had a paddle ball with a ball on a piece of rubber, and you would bounce it. But the wood was kind of like hard, and it didn't break. So she gave me 10 licks in my hand with that paddle. It wasn't fun. And after that, I stopped helping people. you know, I just figure out another way to help them without her knowledge. Let's say that. And today, if you do that, it's called conspiracy. When you're doing something that breaks the law, if you're doing something corrupting, that's a conspiracy to overthrow the government, overthrow policies. And I kind of like got away from it. It's okay to be smart, but it's not okay to do things to get people in trouble and disrespect the letter of the law. Regardless, we all are here on this planet for a reason, and God give us all talents, and that's why I do what I do. And one of the reasons I stay focused on young people, and most of these young people right here are probably teenagers now, is because it's about them. There's so many things the young minds can do. And that's one of the reasons I created this coloring book. It's called The Real Adventures of Captain 85 coloring book. Some people try to call it a comic book. No, a comic book, I do those too. But my spirit led me to create this coloring book to demonstrate all the work that I've been doing over the years to get the focus of my character called Captain85. And now school is open. And for those that might be watching and viewing, I'm asking people to help by purchasing one of these books for your kids, even for adults. This is not just for kids. This is for adults, seniors, people that like to read and also experience using crayons and coloring. It's a different type of coloring book. This book is put together based upon the things that happen in our community, the subjects of what our young people go through each and every day. And why I bring the things up that I do talk about is because of one reason. Scripture says we perish because the lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge. And I'm trying to explain to people what my purpose is. We all have a mission. We all are born for a reason. We're not born for a season. We're not born for winter, spring, summer, and fall. We're born for a reason. And that's the purpose of this planet called Mother Earth. The word mother should identify with each and every human being. Why? Because Mother Earth gives life to everything. It gives life to the oceans. It gives life to the air. It gives life not only in the houses that we live in, it gives life because Mother Earth cares. Cares about everything and every creature that's on this planet. But man, on the other hand, seems to want to destroy. That's why, as humans, we are born for a reason, to do battle for the Creator who created this planet, to maintain and take care of the earth. But some people just want to destroy. Some people just want to be dictators, or I want to be president, or whatever things. And then when you decide as the voter, saying enough is enough, we don't want to go down that road again. And we still face the same people that cause chaos. We have a system called an election that mostly all the world has adopted. Even the countries that are dictators also had adopted, but want to get rid of. Our young people is the most important commodity on this planet. And yes, Black people are too. We are the commodity for the United States. But I'm trying to stay on topic. Excuse me. So much information out there that we get misled, misguided. But the real adventures of Captain85 is for young people to take a glimpse, not just into a coloring book, but to take a glimpse into their real world, black and white. The cover is colored, but the inside is black and white. And that's why it's a coloring book, so that people can get to choose their own colors. You can choose your own colors to color whatever color you decide to use. And when you do that, you become skillful. When you're able to do that, you become skillful and learn to do the things as any person that has a comic book or a coloring book, you are able to do that. Now you can become an artist. You can become to create your own and be good at it. We don't have to sit alongside and just take for granted that, hey, we don't have to do this. We can't do that. I couldn't do it at one time. But what I did do, I studied. I would always take things and study. I would study in my room. My mother gave me the opportunity to have my own room, because back in the day, when people grow up, you learn to you learn to you just learn to do things. I mean, we had I had brothers and sisters, so whenever when my oldest brother left, my sister got his room. It was by age. You didn't have your room because we had a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house. And whenever the oldest one get their room, and the youngest ones, they stayed in one room. So when my brother left and moved to New York with my oldest sister and my oldest brother, then uh and then my sister got the room because she was the youngest girl, so she gets the room. So after she left and went to New York, I got the room. Then I had the room to myself. So I asked my mother, could I paint on the walls, draw on the wall? She said, it's your room, as long as you don't, mess it up, keep it clean. Yeah, you can paint on the walls. So that's what I did. I started painting mirrors and stuff. And some of the things I painted was Bruce Lee, you know, and because I always watched him in the Green Hornet. And then I started reading his books. And then I learned that, hey, I can do the same thing. I can learn martial arts. So at some point in life, I did learn to do martial arts. So when I did that, I studied for over maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But medical conditions, my doctor told me I couldn't do it anymore. So I began to move to a different area. So what I do in trying to create things for young people is the experience I went through as a child, as a teen, as an adult, as a DJ, as working in the real world experience, then learning corporate ways to do things. And I just learn things. I read, I study. I may not get it all right, but I learn a lot. So what I do is I wanted to improve the environment that I stayed in, as well as, you know, become more than what I was. Because at all the lower level jobs, I was a truck driver, Tidewater Produce. I learned how to operate a forklift, 3 different levels of forklifts working at Tidewater Produce. I learned how to drive a stick shift truck. I learned how to deliver produce. I also learned how to wrap food, bag food, and also take those all that stuff we did and fill the orders that had to go out to Fort Story, Fort Monroe, Oceana, Fort Houston, schools, and other places. As a driver of a truck, I learned how to deliver to Carl's back in the day, McDonald's, school, a lot of places, restaurants, and I was good at it. But the thing is, I'm always trying to improve the system, enhance it in another way. So what that do required me to get in trouble with employees, as well as sometimes with the owners. You know, when I ask questions back in the 70s, late 70s, late 70s, and one of my bosses told me, I said, at the time I was working for $1 an hour, and I did a lot of work for $1. If I wanted to get $100, I had to work 100 hours. So when people are talking to me and they don't understand that what system that you own that I didn't go through, and maybe the cities and places that you stay, you didn't have to go through that. But here we did. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not ashamed. My mother and father were sharecroppers. They came from North Carolina here as sharecroppers when they were young. My mother and father had 7 kids. One passed away, as my mother tell me the story. Tell us the story about our oldest brother that we never met. He had caught pneumonia, and back in the days, they call it double pneumonia. And by having double pneumonia, she took him to the emergency room. And at that time, we're still living in a society where, what they trying to keep taking us back as the president who's running for to be president. We ain't going back. They constantly trying to take us back. They don't want us to do these things. They don't want us to have businesses. But we're one of the largest populations in the United States as we continue to grow. And with growth, meaning that we control a lot of revenue. We control a lot of money. And we don't spend with the right people. They have a tendency of slowing the growth down because it's all a system. Everything is a system. And if you don't take time to study the system and just listen to the hearsay and the naysay, you're staying in the system without even knowing it. But here as I come along and I work with people and I figure out things very quickly if it's, not too something out of my range of knowledge or information, something I have to study, something I have to do research on. And we all are capable of doing that. Just like we should be capable of understanding that while we're around here shooting each other with guns, killing each other every night over something that ain't gonna never belong to us. Why are we killing somebody? Because we don't like what they say. If you don't like what they say, walk away. It's in the scripture. But I forget a lot of people don't read the Bible. And then those that do read the Bible don't understand it. So we have to go to church and listen to the man in the pulpit that's going to tell us about something because he's telling you something that ain't true. He said, I've been ordained. We all been ordained to know what the Bible means. That's why the Bible say pray. Pray to your heavenly Father to give you answers. Man will deceive you. That's in the Bible. So who do I supposed to believe? Do I supposed to believe every preacher that's in the pulpit? When I pick up the Bible myself and started reading, and they say, man will deceive you. And I know people say, well, maybe you're trying to deceive me. Maybe I am. But what is the benefit for me to gain the world and lose my soul? Let me repeat that again. What is it for a man to gain the world, but yet lose his soul. No, I didn't make that up. That's in that book called the Bible. So why is it that I gain the world and I lose my soul? How am I losing my soul? Because I have to do a lot of things that is not according to scripture, to the Bible. A lot of our preachers today, they entertainers. They on TV. That's entertainment. Then you got some that's trying to do right. But again, many come, but few are chosen. Because it's not easy. It is not easy trying to do the right thing. You will waste a lot of sleepless nights. Can't sleep. You be up all day. You have nowhere to go. You have friends that smile in your face that ain't your friends. So where do you go for comfort? Where do you go? You can't go but one place, and that's to the Lord, because he's the one that sent you. He's the one that allowed you to come to earth as a human. And we take it for granted that we know everything. And you might say, well, why do you have your church? Why do you have the preacher? Because we all are human. Each person on the front of that page of my coloring book, I designed it that way. I hired an artist to render each one of these characters because they are real people. Each one of these people on this book is real. You may not notice them, you may not identify them, but these are people in their neighborhood from the 757. And you'll say, well, why didn't you just put some people up there we can identify? But then I got to put a lot of celebrities up there because that's what you really follow. You follow people that are already famous. I'm trying to get you to be famous. I'm trying to get you to get the knowledge and seek wisdom, not a gun. A gun is only going to get you in trouble. If you're not a police officer, you're not in the military, you don't have a security company or work for one, then that means we have to make sure that every human being on the planet have a gun to protect themselves. Because that's one of the First Amendments. We're allowed to have a weapon for protection. But if we have a gun for protection, how come all this mass killing going on in schools? How come young people are going through the neighborhood, shooting up the neighborhood? People have worked to buy a home. People have worked to be in a safe environment. But yet people come through the neighborhood and want to disrupt, destroy. And at the end of the day, all you're doing is creating the pipeline to prison. If I can't get you one way, I'm going to get you another. And the pipeline to prison in our community is real. You don't think rap is just real. The real deal is the pipeline to prison. You got more black and brown people in prison than you got coming across the border. Let me say it again. You got more black men and brown men in prison than you got coming across the border. Because you got 3 generations of black and brown men. You got the father, you got the grandson, and you got the son. 3 generations. And we can't talk to our young people to get them to stop hurting themselves. We got to do more than lip service. We got to do more than just pray. We have to do more work in order to get them to understand somebody has more knowledge than you. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with going to church. Because once you go to church and then you do commune on Sundays, if people are paying attention, do you know what the pastor mean when he said, now we have distinguished the light, the candle that they have on the commune table. Now we're going to open up the doors of the church. And now you go out into the community. Well, something like that. But what I'm trying to say is, when you leave the church, when you don't put on what they call the whole armor of God, when you leave the church is the replica of a building. We call it a church because we go there to commune. We go there to sing and give praises to God. We have a leader that's called a pastor or a reverend or a preacher to lead the flock. The flock is usually the people that's in the pulpits who come to listen for a good word to help us throughout the rest of the week until next Sunday, where we go back and get another word. But what do we do with that when the doors open and now the church doors are open? Now go out into the world and spread the gospel. What that means is, once you heard that wonderful service and became a part of it, you supposed to take the word back to your friends, your neighbors, your family members, and talk about it. You become the preacher. And you people like, well, man, I don't go to church. You know, that's a game, man. You indoctrinated. Well, let me see. Let me ask you this. On Saturdays, isn't there a ritual called washing and cleaning your car? When brother get a car, he's going to clean that car up every Saturday. I don't care how many hours he done work during the week. He's going to clean that car. His car going to be the most like a dime. It's going to shine, baby. It's going to shine because he got to go riding. He going hunting, as we say. Rolling through the community, the neighborhoods, seeing who's walking the streets downtown. Maybe he can holler at somebody. Get a few telephone numbers. But that vehicle gonna be the most cleanest thing he got besides himself. Oh, he going to the clubs tonight. He gonna look good. But all these things we do, we forget about the children. We forget that young people can't go nowhere because they don't have a car. They're kids. Unless they stayed in the country, 8 and 9 and 12 years old, they get an opportunity to drive on the farm. You got 2-3 acres of land. They can go out there and wheel and deal. Don't you know most of the people in the country didn't even have driver license? They just could drive. because they was in the country, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, all those places back in the day. My cousin never had a driver's license. And he died when he was about 60-some years old on a moped. Got hit by a tractor trailer. His name is Randolph Stevens. Boy, give me my flowers while I'm living, boy. But I keep his memory alive. He could he taught himself how to play the guitar and the piano. He used to sing for the funeral homes when they needed somebody to sing. He used to be in singing talent shows and a whole other thing. He even, before he passed away, just got a recording deal. But I say that to say what? My book is there to help people to understand we all go through challenges. We go through things in life that we cannot sometimes control. But we do control who we love. We do control who we trust. We do control the elements that we are in. Today, I talk about the real adventures of Captain85 coloring book. And if you're interested, next week, I will give you the website that you can order a copy. But comes along as the creator of the character and the materials, that's Stable Boy Publishing. Now, Community Action People is the nonprofit side of Captain85 that goes around to schools, recreation centers, libraries, but there is a fee if you like to initiate this program in those areas. That is headed up with my wife as the director. Her name is Alice Taylor. And soon her website will be up that you'll be able to contact, because there's steps for each and everything that we do. Community Action People initiate a program that I developed with her guidance and a few other professional people. It's not just a book. This is to stop the violence in our community. I'm not out to duplicate what other people do, because my spirit leads me in a different way. Our young people are dying, and this just didn't start yesterday. I've been talking about this ever since the late 70s. Most people first met me when I used to be on WRAP AM 850 with Soul Ranger and Frank James. They used to do a talk show. And Soul Ranger invited me to be a part of his talk show. And being a part of his talk show, people would call in. Oh, I'm sorry. My wife just passed me a note, and I'm going to read it. Alice Vaughn, you said Alice Taylor. I apologize. She's my wife now. Her name used to be Alice Taylor. And we was dating before she moved back to New Jersey and met a man that she became his wife. And they had a son named Adam Taylor. And he's very smart, very smart, very high IQ. And, I don't take credit for no one, not even myself. All my children, which now is 6, it used to be 7, are very, very highly intelligent and responsible. Miss Fawn is the director of the Real Adventures of Captain 85 program. This is a program that's designed to help out young people and part of the school system. But there's another story behind that, but we'll keep moving forward. And Community Action People is the nonprofit 501c. And some of the proceeds from the sale of these books will go to fund Community Action People, because nothing can be done without money. So what I do is create ways of making revenue for the Real Adventures of Captain 85. And hopefully I might even have to start a GoFund, because for those that cannot afford to buy a book, that I might be able to, with your help in buying a book, or once the GoFund page is up, you donate through that. All of this stuff is tax-based. All of this stuff is legal entities. So one thing takes care of another. But there's so much has to be done. And I live on a small budget. And I take most of my money and put over the years to build this brand so that it would generate money to be able to help the community out. And I've spent most of my life working in the community. Regardless of the naysayers, I don't let that bother me. You fail to realize they talked about Jesus Christ. They talked about Moses. They talk about John the Baptist, Peter and Paul, the 12 disciples. But very rarely you don't hear a lot about the one that turned Jesus in to the church. They got upset with Jesus because he went into the temple and turned the money table over. And this is the quote that's in scripture. They said, "You're using my house like a den of thieves," because they were selling and raising money in the temple. And that's when they decided that he had to be crucified. Jesus already knew his destiny when he was here. That's why he came to save us. He was our brother. Brother to every human on the planet. Not the Jesus that you see in churches. That is Michelangelo, brother. That was his cousin. The one with the blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, that's who he was. But let's don't get it twisted. We'll continue this later on another. I hope you understand my position and what I do. But I have to keep reiterating. But remember, join me next week, same time, same bed station, right here.